Next, we're going to talk about The Rain, that 2018 series. Check out the gossip. The story begins with the Simone, a straight A student from Denmark. She's a little late for a test, but she's still there, attentive, helping her friends get along. Then, a guy tries to flirt with her and asks her out. The day was looking like a huge success for her, until, out of nowhere, her father, Frederick, shows up at college. The guy grabs her arm and tells her to come with him immediately. He warns her that a nasty rain is coming and that everyone should take shelter as quickly as possible. Not understanding all that panic, Simone asks what's going on, but her father doesn't give many details. Her younger brother, Rasmus, and her mother were already waiting in the car, and they tell her to hurry because they need to get out of town. On the phone, Frederick tells some colleagues that a toxic storm is coming to Scandinavia, and it's something far more deadly than anyone could have imagined. As he speeds through traffic, dodging everyone and trying to escape the black clouds, Simone doesn't understand why her father is so scared because of a light rain. But then she starts hearing the emergency alerts. People are fainting and suffocating en masse. Rasmus, who is incredibly stubborn, refuses to put on his seatbelt, distracting his parents. Trying to calm the boy, Frederick loses control of the car. An accident almost happens, but an overturned truck on the road prevents it. The storm is approaching fast. With no time to think, Frederick orders his children to run with him. As the first drops begin to fall, the family arrives at the entrance to a bunker hidden in the woods. Inside, the place looks more like a secret military base than a shelter. Simone and Rasmus are frightened and confused. Without explaining properly, Frederick puts on a chemical protection suit. He entrusts the children to his wife, saying he's the only one who knows what's happening and how to stop the madness. Before leaving, he asks Simone to protect Rasmus at all costs and never let anyone find him, because Rasmus is the key to everything. Simone begs him not to go, but he promises to return one day. She tries to call her friends, but all she sees are terrifying live streams of panicked people talking about strange and deadly things. Clinging to her father's last words, she tries to comfort Rasmus. Out of nowhere, they hear knocking on the bunker door. Their mother warns them not to open it, but the children think it's their father. When the door opens, a rain-soaked and contaminated person jumps on Rasmus. The mother dives to save her children, pushing the intruder away, but ends up being hit by the rain. She begins to suffocate and begs them to close the door before she dies. Simone obeys and realizes she's now alone, caring for her younger brother. Even though she pretends to be strong, she's broken inside. After putting Rasmus to bed, she breaks down in tears. She finds comfort in the supply room, where there are a bunch of protective suits, and imagines one of them is her father. She tries to talk to the suit to feel less alone. Then her memory flashes back to before all the chaos. Months earlier, Rasmus was seriously ill with no cure. His father, a scientist at a company called Apollon, created a virus that miraculously cured the boy. Back in the present, Simone and Rasmus find a control tablet with the coordinates of other bunkers around the peninsula. Determined to find someone else alive, they use the communication equipment and manage to reach the Philip, another teenager isolated in a different shelter. His parents are also missing, and he has no idea what's going on out there. One night, Simone wakes up and sees Rasmus out of bed. He says he saw his father, which she knows is impossible. Later, Philip calls again and tells her about a nearby hospital that has been quarantined. Believing her father might be there, Simone prepares for a dangerous trip. She tells Rasmus she's thinking about going, but he begs her not to. He's already lost his parents and doesn't want to lose her too. That same night, Simone sneaks out, wearing a protective suit. Every step outside the bunker is filled with fear, and the memory of her mother dying sends her into a panic attack. Even so, she swears to the image of her father that she will do everything to protect Rasmus. She decides to turn the bunker into a real home. The power goes out, the radio stops working, but a generator gets the job done. Simone learns to maintain the system and even tries to plant some plants, but to no avail. She cheers her brother up by dancing, but life in isolation becomes increasingly difficult. 5 years later, Rasmus has given up hope that his father will return. He thinks his father is dead and wants to leave, but Simone is still terrified. Finally, willing to do anything for her brother, Simone waits for him to fall asleep and sneaks out again. The rain has stopped, and the world is silent, full of animals, but no sign of people. She follows some signs to the hospital Philip mentioned, but finds the place in ruins, with only the remains of bodies. After encountering a terrifying wolf, Simone runs away and returns at dawn. She tells Rasmus the truth and proposes the only way out, to the next bunker on the list, which theoretically has supplies and a working generator. They plan to leave in the morning, but that night something goes wrong. The oxygen stops working. Rasmus wakes to find Simone suffocating. Desperate, he opens the bunker door and the two escape. They soon realize it's a trap. Someone has deliberately cut off the system to force them out. As they stumble outside, they're surrounded by a group of armed strangers. Simone and Rasmus are taken back and locked in a room. It turns out that the 5 armed invaders are actually a group of survivors led by a guy named Martin. With it, you have the Patrick, the Jean, Alea, and to Beatrice Martin lured the bunker's inhabitants into raiding the place and searching for supplies. Hungry and desperate, they searched everywhere but found almost nothing. Even so, they were impressed by the bunker's condition. It's more than a shelter. It's a well-designed system to protect against contamination. Rasmus freaks out, convinced they'll be killed or abandoned. Determined not to let that happen, Simone tries to communicate with the group. Beatrice, the nicest, talks to Simone through the window and introduces herself, explaining their mission. After taking what he could, Martin tells everyone to leave. His plan is to leave Simone and Rasmus behind, but Simone cuts the power and lights the window with her tablet. When Martin approaches, she shows him a map of the peninsula, pointing out other bunkers that might have resources. Then she breaks the tablet and says she's memorized the coordinates, making herself indispensable. Reluctantly, Martin agrees to take them, forcing the siblings to serve as guides to the next shelter. Simone leads the group, but soon realizes they're lost. Martin becomes enraged and threatens to kill them both if they don't find shelter by midnight. The toxic rain still falls every night. Without shelter, they wouldn't survive. During their search, they spot 2 armed men. Martin orders everyone to hide under a device that blocks thermal signals. The men are hunters who track survivors with thermal vision and other technology. They find a woman hiding in the forest and begin chasing her. Simone begs Martin for help, and Beatrice supports him, saying there are only 2 of them and they can defeat them. Martin reluctantly agrees and kills the hunters, but when they reach the woman, they discover her feet are soaked. She's infected. Without a second thought, Martin kills her. For him, she was already lost. Simone is shocked by his coldness, but there's a reason for this. Years ago, Martin was a soldier guarding a quarantine zone. One day, he saw a woman with a baby. He should have shot her, but he couldn't kill a defenseless mother. When he returned to camp, everyone was dead except a soldier named Pierre. Pierre told him the woman was infected and killed everyone. Then, Pierre also died after touching the baby. Haunted by his mistake, Martin abandoned his post and formed a group of survivors, vowing never to feel sorry for anyone again. With the rain about to begin, the group hides in an abandoned kindergarten. They seal off the place to keep water out. Leia is growing weaker from hunger and lack of medicine. Martin reminds Simone that if they don't find a real bunker soon, someone will die. Meanwhile, Jean helps Rasmus find shoes, taking them from corpse. Patrick is still suspicious of Simone and Rasmus, doubting they survived 6 years alone. While looking through Rasmus's backpack, Patrick finds some drawings. One of them shows a mysterious figure inside the bunker. Rasmus swears he saw someone else that night, but Patrick thinks he's delusional. That same night, Rasmus secretly follows Martin and Beatrice and discovers they are a couple. Upset, he distances himself from Beatrice the next morning and refuses to speak to her. Distracted, he accidentally steps in a puddle. Martin prepares to shoot before the infection spreads, but Simone shields her brother with her own body. She begs Beatrice to check Rasmus's feet and make sure they are dry. Luckily for them, they are. The group continues on and soon reaches another bunker. Simone scans her hand to open it, revealing a pile of food and supplies. The group is relieved. Exploring the place, Simone finds her father's cell phone and realizes he's been there. She checks his messages and finds a video from her father's boss, telling him to report to Sweden. This gives Simone and Rasmus hope. Maybe their scientist father is still alive and working on a cure. Sometime later, Simone shows the recording to Martin and suggests they go to Sweden to look for her father. She believes he's still alive and trying to find a cure for the virus. Martin is skeptical, saying that if there were a cure, the world would be a better place. He hesitates to abandon the bunker's security and supplies, but gives Simone the directions. He warns her to avoid people, but Simone thinks things aren't so bad out there. Soon after, Simone and Rasmus leave. When they reach a town, they hide in an overturned bus to avoid being seen. When Leia and Beatrice discover the siblings have left, they decide to follow them. They believe Simone and Rasmus are their only chance. Leia, Beatrice, and Jean soon catch up, and the group continues their journey together. Martin and Patrick hesitate at first, but eventually follow. Along the way, they find a cafe and take a break, pretending life is still normal. Leia and Jean go out to look for glasses, promising to return before the rain. But seconds later, a group of hungry people appears at the cafe. Desperate and aggressive, they act like wild animals. Beatrice, Rasmus, and Simone are forced to flee. In the confusion, Simone gets separated and is left alone. While hiding, she sees a boy exposed to the toxic rain. Simone helps him reach a shelter in a ruined church. The boy is weak and sick, so she gives him her food. His father is surprised by her kindness and urges her to leave the town quickly, warning that the people there have become more like animals than human. When father and son try to leave, others see the food and attack them. Simone watches in horror as they are killed. She feels guilty for what happened. Meanwhile, Martin and Patrick enter the city and take shelter on a bus to wait out the rain. While fiddling with a mysterious device they took from the bounty hunters, Patrick accidentally activates a map. It shows they're inside a quarantine zone surrounded by a giant wall. And beyond that wall, there could be a world free of the virus. Beatrice and Rasmus take shelter in the house where she grew up. She talks about her life, how her parents were going to divorce, but ended up dying together during the apocalypse and never left that house. Rasmus comforts her and admits he likes her. They soon reunite, but are attacked by a hungry man with a knife. When a man discovers the group is heading to a bunker with food, he grabs Rasmus and threatens to kill him. Martin and Patrick arrive just in time, trying to stop the attacker. In the fight, Rasmus is stabbed in the stomach before the man can escape. The group manages to stop the bleeding and rush to the next bunker. But when they arrive, the door is broken and there is no food. Even so, they decide to stay and treat Rasmus's wounds. Beatrice cares for him and remembers how it all began. When the poison rain appeared, she was alone, and then she met Leia and Jean. When Martin and Patrick wanted to kill them, Beatrice became Martin's lover so he could protect them and let them be together. In the present, Martin shows Simone the map of the quarantine zone they discovered and suggests they head toward the wall to try to escape that hell. During an external patrol, Leia and Jean spot a car carrying hunters. To continue their journey, the group must cross the only guarded bridge, but the risk is enormous. Meanwhile, Rasmus's injury is worsening, and they need to find a doctor in the next town as quickly as possible. Beatrice does everything she can to support him, but Martin senses this and becomes jealous, pulling her into a private conversation. He asks if she would be willing to date him for real once they leave the quarantine zone. A little later, Martin suggests they wait until nightfall to cross the bridge without being seen. But Rasmus is in a terrible state, and time is running out. Then, Simone proposes a riskier plan. She decides to go alone to the bridge, attract attention, and start a chase. Soon, a thermal imaging drone finds her and follows her to a ruined building. Minutes later, 3 armed hunters arrive in an armored SUV. They're incredibly dangerous, but it's all a trap. Simone purposely lured them in because the rest of the group was hiding nearby, waiting to pounce. The others capture the three hunters to interrogate them about what's beyond the quarantine zone. Simone leads the interrogation, but it's futile. The hunters remain silent, knowing execution is certain. Then Gene sees a tattoo on one of their arms. It brings back memories from his past. Soon after the first rain, he tried to hide and ended up in a rural village, where he met a little deaf girl and her parents, who took him in. Gene lived happily with them until bounty hunters found them. At that time, no one knew about the hunters, and the father of the family went out to welcome them. Unaware of the danger, the three hunters shot the man and kidnapped his wife. The girl tried to scream, so Gene covered her mouth, but accidentally suffocated her. This traumatized him forever. Since then, Gene has wanted nothing but revenge. Martin promises to kill the three hunters and tells everyone to quickly get back to the car to avoid further patrols. The group arrives at the neighboring town using the thermal drone. They scan the area and find someone hiding nearby, an armed woman they've already been searching for. She works as a doctor and helps stitch up Rasmus's wound, explaining that she lost 2 children to the viral rain. Simone reveals that their father, scientist Frederick, may be developing a cure. The doctor offers to take them to a safer location to give Rasmus an injection and guides them to a bunker. It turns out she also worked for the corporation and has access to the shelter. The old building serves as cover from patrols. After asking Rasmus to sit down, the woman ties him up and attacks Simone to immobilize her. She reveals she worked in the same department as their father and blames him for everything. Frederick was the one who created the virus that spiraled out of control and killed millions of people in Scandinavia. The doctor wants revenge and plans to film the execution of his children. Meanwhile, the others decide to split up. Leia and Beatrice explore the area, while Patrick, Martin, and Gene try to steal the doctor's supplies and find food. Seconds later, they spot several armed hunters who have discovered them. Worse still, Martin didn't kill the 3 men first. Seeing the tattoo on one of them's arm, Gene loses control. Overcome with rage, he grabs a rifle and charges at them. Martin could have killed the others, but hesitates. Gene is captured and taken away. Martin and Patrick regroup with Leia and Beatrice and head to the doctor's bunker. Inside, Patrick sees the assassination attempt on Rasmus and acts quickly, killing the woman. Patrick is disappointed in Martin. He's no longer the leader he once was. Beatrice, meanwhile, realizes that Martin is falling for Simone, and it seems the feeling is mutual. The next day, the group of 6 continues their journey, but Simone can't find the right path. They're lost and don't know where to go. Patrick and Leia are terrified because Gene is in the hands of the hunters. Everyone is desperate. They need to hide, and the rain could start at any moment. Hearing noises, they head toward the edge of the forest and see an old castle where people live. As they approach, Martin and the others encounter strangers dressed identically. The group is allowed inside and shelter from the poisonous rain, but on one condition. Patrick and Martin must hand over their weapons. Realizing they won't survive otherwise, they reluctantly hand over their rifles and enter. Martin is suspicious of these people. They act as if they're part of some cult. They demand that the group forget the past and leave everything behind. Then they lock the bedroom door and keep a close eye on Rasmus, as he's not feeling well. The next morning, the Karen she gives the group a tour and explains that they grow fruits and vegetables there. No one trusts her, so she eats a tomato to prove it's safe. Then she takes the group to the shower and asks everyone to change and freshen up. Martin refuses to put on their clothes and walks away, while the others remain suspicious. Finally, Karen takes a shower to show that the water is clean. While the 5 friends relax in the bath, forgetting their problems, Martin explores the place. Hiding in a storage room, Martin finds children's shoes, but he hasn't seen any in the castle, which is strange. When he mentions it, the residents insist there are children there, but he hasn't seen them yet. Leia tells Karen they need to leave soon, but Karen asks them to stay another day because there's a monthly celebration the next day. Rasmus's condition worsens, and the doctor agrees to examine him. At one point, he suggests giving him an injection, But Simone forbids it when she sees the syringe bears the Apollon Corporation logo. This means the doctor has worked with them. Later, Simone tries to get answers, but the community leader warns her not to question her dark past or the causes of the apocalypse. Seeing that Leia is religious, Karen asks to talk and hear her confession. Leia opens up about her life before the first rain. She came from a very devout and controlling family. Dreaming of going to a college party, she practically ran away from home. She promised her mother she would behave, but her friends played a prank, slipping drugs into her drink. She lost control and spent the night with 3 guys. The next morning, she saw a video of the incident and called her mother, who rejected her and hung up. Leia turned to faith and prayed for God to punish the guilty. And then the poisonous rain began, killing everyone outside. Seeing the men who did this to her die, Leia felt guilty, even though she was completely blameless. Martin begins to suspect the place isn't so safe. In the basement, he sees cooks using saws, but he can't enter the kitchen. When he meets Simone, he realizes she has the same doubts. The cult is hiding something. They return to the basement to check the kitchen, but everything is clean and the cooks are gone. Meanwhile, Rasmus flirts with Beatrice, and Simone becomes increasingly interested in Martin. But this isn't the time for that, because something strange is going on. Martin tastes a tomato and nothing happens, but his suspicions only grow. He returns to the basement. When everyone gathers for the monthly celebration dinner, Martin finds drops of blood on the floor. Checking the refrigerator, he discovers human remains. He learns the cult is made up of cannibals who feed on each other and any stray survivors. Soon, everyone discovers the truth. The doctor and the cult leader use weapons to hold them hostage. Rasmus, Simone, Leia, Beatrice, and Patrick have already eaten human flesh, so now they have to draw envelopes to decide their fate. One envelope contains a flower, which signifies passage to the other world. Whoever catches it will be the next meal. Leia catches it, but Karen sacrifices herself, offering herself as the next victim so Leia can live and leave. The group escapes the castle and discovers that the Apollon Corporation is behind everything and that the doctor there, Rasmus and Simone's father, was leading the experiments. Realizing he hasn't forgotten his past, the cult leader expels him. Feeling hopeless, the man shows Simone what's in the syringe and injects himself. The dose instantly infects and kills him. The group continues their journey and spends the night in an abandoned house near a lake. In the morning, they check the map and realize the hunters are still hot on their trail, closing in faster and faster. In fact, the hunters have already reached the wall, blocking their path. Martin tells everyone to leave quickly, but Rasmus confesses he can't move. They need supplies and reach the next bunker, but they have no strength left. Realizing there's no way out, the group decides to split up. Leia, Simone, Patrick, and Martin head to the bunker, leaving Rasmus behind with Beatrice. Alone, Rasmus confesses that he faked the severity of his injury. He's almost healed. He deliberately deceived the others so he could spend time alone with Beatrice. Knowing it's just the two of them, they draw, explore nature, and enjoy each other's company. When a storm starts, they take shelter but continue having fun, even dancing. They don't notice the rainwater seeping through the rotten floor. Suddenly, a drop falls on Beatrice's face, and she has a panic attack. Rasmus calms her and kisses her, promising that if the virus infects her, he will die with her. Relieved, they make love and spend the night together. Meanwhile, Patrick sees Martin spending more and more time with Simone, barely acknowledging his presence. Even after so many years of friendship, Martin doesn't treat him as a friend. Haunted by the past, Patrick drinks heavily, feeling rejected and betrayed by everyone. His own father gave him a car just to make sure he left for good. It was in that car during the first rainstorm that Patrick realized everyone around him had already died. Back with the group, the four friends finally find the bunker, but inside it's full of children's drawings and toys. Simone and Leia insist they can't steal anything, as a family with a child lives there. Martin and Patrick disagree, believing the supplies are their only chance. Exploring the bunker, Patrick finds a tablet with a ton of recordings. The tablet belongs to a corporation employee who experimented on people, injecting them with poison to test their resistance. Most died, including children. One of the videos shows Simone's father as one of the victims, which leads her to justify the experiments. She believes they may have been a desperate attempt to find a cure. The group plans to leave and return home, but the rain forces them to stay. Feeling left out, Patrick gets drunk, and Simone tries to comfort him, believing she's to blame for his and Martin's separation. Patrick pushes Simone outside into the rain. Seconds later, he calls Martin and begs him to kill Simone before she transforms and attacks. But Martin can't pull the trigger. Leia defends Simone and walks out into the rain with her. Martin and Patrick isolate the two. Even soaking wet, Leia and Simone show no signs of infection. Assuming the rain is no longer dangerous, Martin goes out to check. The group celebrates, drinks, and celebrates before going to sleep. The next morning, Martin kicks Patrick out for betraying their friendship and nearly killing Simone. Meanwhile, Rasmus wakes up to find Beatrice dead from the virus. When Patrick returns, he sees the scene and flees, but is ambushed and someone puts a bag over his head. He wakes to discover he's been captured by bounty hunters. The leader of the group, the Thomas, brutally interrogates Patrick, forcibly pulling out his teeth. Despite the pain and torture, Patrick reveals that the others are hiding in the bunker, since Simone has access and her father worked for the corporation. He also tells them about Rasmus and his resistance to the disease. The group realizes that Rasmus is the Invincible, the person they've been searching for over 4 years. At the same time, it becomes clear that these hunters are actually corporate squads within the quarantine zone. Their mission is to capture survivors for testing. To the government, all survivors are officially dead and can be used as disposable resources. The hunters cannot leave the quarantine zone until they find the Invincible because they have poison capsules in their blood that activate if they try to escape or disobey orders. Rasmus takes Beatrice's body back to the bunker and desperately tries to save her. He's willing to do anything. But Martin and the others have no choice but to isolate him. Everyone is shaken by Beatrice's death, but none more so than Rasmus, who loses his will to live. When everyone relaxes, he escapes and contacts Thomas, promising to turn himself in if they kill him. Noticing her brother is missing, Simone goes after him and discovers he's been captured. After burying Beatrice, the group continues their perilous journey with a new mission to rescue Rasmus. Meanwhile, Thomas gives Rasmus several injections to keep him awake until he can get him out of the zone. Leia, now alert, screams and pretends to be a lost victim. They lure one of the hunters, capture him, and call Thomas to propose a trade. The leader ignores the offer, and his subordinate explains why. Everyone is shocked to learn that Rasmus is the chosen one and that he is resistant to the disease. Even though she was in the same situation as Beatrice, only she died. In the next negotiation, Simone demands a meeting, threatening the hunter with a poison injection. She forces the group to return her brother in exchange for the prisoner. Rasmus returns, but decides to inject himself with the poison to spare the others from suffering. Minutes later, he regains consciousness, confirming once and for all that he is immune to the virus. Thomas proposes a deal. He will take the group to the corporation's base, where they will experiment on Rasmus to create an antidote. In exchange, everyone will be released. Rasmus, Simone, Leia, Martin, and Patrick, who has returned to the group, cautiously agree and prepare to leave. Before leaving, one of the hunters kisses Rasmus on the forehead, seeing him as humanity's last hope. Seconds later, the hunter dies because even though Rasmus isn't sick, he is a carrier who transmits the virus. A few hours later, Thomas leads the group of survivors to the corporation's headquarters, still inside the wall. Leia, Patrick, and Martin are taken to a bunker where they remain in a kind of limbo. Neither prisoners nor guests. Inside, they find Jean, who is still alive. Soon, they are asked to take some dietary supplements, but Martin becomes suspicious again. A woman takes one of the pills first to prove they are harmless, and convinces the others to do the same. Meanwhile, Rasmus and Simone meet with their father. Simone becomes furious and slaps Frederick, blaming him for everything wrong with the world. He was the one who started the apocalypse and created the virus that killed most of humanity in Scandinavia. Frederick tells his daughter to calm down and sends Rasmus to the medical wing for an initial examination. After that, the doctors will begin collecting biomaterials to create the antidote. In a private conversation with Simone, the father suggests that he can't say everything because the cameras are watching. Later, a doctor tries to take a sample from Rasmus's mouth, but he bites her hand. The woman begins to transform rapidly and dies painfully. That night, Frederick finds Simone again and takes her to a place without cameras. He admits that 6 years ago, he entered the bunker and was seen by Rasmus. Frederick then sealed the shelter and declared everyone dead to protect his son. He killed the doctor who doubted his story and then eliminated almost everyone in the quarantine zone, all to save Rasmus. The poison and the antidote are hidden in his bone marrow. And to get the antidote, he would have to kill his own son. But he's not ready for that. Instead, he suggests that Simone and Rasmus escape, trying to get him out of the lab. Later, Frederick finds the mutant doctor's body. After taking a sample and analyzing the DNA, he realizes that Rasmus has mutated too much and his biomaterial is no longer useful for creating an antidote. Humanity's cure is lost, and Rasmus has become incredibly dangerous, easier to kill than to save. Frederick agrees with the corporation's boss to use Rasmus as a guinea pig in experiments. But Simone overhears the plan. She warns her friends to start a fire, and as a result, Martin, Jean, Leia, and Patrick manage to escape the bunker. Together, the 6 friends decide to escape the quarantine zone, but Frederick confronts them. He shoots Martin and is about to kill Rasmus, but Simone stops him. The group manages to escape, but as they try to leave the area, they are captured by Thomas. He reveals that the supplements they took were actually poison capsules. If they leave the zone, they will die. The only ones who make it out alive are Rasmus and Simone. But the brothers refuse to betray their friends. Knowing they can't escape, the 6 decide to return to the quarantine zone, knowing that the corporation will come after them. Meanwhile, the corporation's chief orders Frederick's arrest and the group of 6 captured. Rasmus is no longer needed to create an antidote, but to produce and sell biological weapons. And so we end the first season of The Rain, a science fiction series. If you liked it, leave a like, comment to help with engagement, and consider subscribing so you don't miss the next recaps.